Welcome back to Lee Pitts Live. We are here at the on Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard and Palm on the corner in city of Fort Myers in the state of Florida for those who are looking at us from around the world. This is the Easter Day parade that takes place every year here. It's a unique parade in the African American community that has a great history to it. We'll get into that later on when I talk to some of the representatives who are here putting on this parade. We're here early. We're going to cover it from end to end as the parade comes down Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard and turn onto Palm. Our television set will be right there at the crest of the turn, and we'll analyze every float and all the people. We'll bring you the pageantry like it's never been covered before, and that's because we didn't have a television show in the area that was that concerned about our own people and covering the parade. So we do have that television show, and it's one Lee Pitts Live. So stay with us throughout today. We'll start off today with a significant historic event where we have my good buddy here and my fraternity brother,
yes, sir,
Tracey McMillion,
yes, sir,
who's now a part of the Fort Myers Fire Department. Tracey, let's get your new title.
Yes, sir. My new title is Deputy Fire Chief.
What does that mean?
Well, eternally what it means is I'll be the number 2 within the organization. Chief John D. Caulfield's the number 1, and he does a lot of the political side, dealing with city manager, dealing with city management, some of the vision, the mission of the organization. My role is different than that. My role is more so internal. So what I do, make sure we are managing well, make sure our administration is operating well, to make sure the service that we give to the community is where it needs to be.
Right, you're hands-on in the shop now.
Yes, sir.
I remember you coming up in the 90s. You became what you work your way through. I remember when you were, I think you were EMS tech,
yes,
and things of that nature. You might not remember that because you and I go way back. We will let everybody know that both Tracey and I are members of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Tracey joined the fraternity not too long ago. I joined in 1980. He's still a little puppy, maybe got about 5 years on his belt.
Sir. Yes,
Thanks for your little 5 years. But when you get up there, you get up there around 30 years like your boy, then you can pull up on the side of me. Phi Beta.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we got that out of the way. Now, let's go back with you. This is a historic event, people. We never had an African American in that type of role with the fire department here, but we don't want to belabor that because we have African Americans around the country who are doing things in various municipalities. Fort Myers is making progress as well, and they couldn't have picked a better person based on his background, his training, his skills, and his talent he's demonstrated over the years. Go back to your early days, how you first started your journey into where you are now.
Yeah, so I started my journey in the Central Florida area, around Orlando, went to fire school there, EMT school there, and I looked throughout the whole state trying to find a job, and I landed in 1996 in Fort Myers, Florida, at the City of Fort Myers Fire Department where I am now, so kind of come full circle. But roughly around 2003, I had the opportunity to go to the Ione-McGregor Fire District, where I spent 16 years. And while I was there, I was able to get a lot of experience, a lot of education, and a lot of development. And that also kind of teeter off a little bit to 2 other opportunities to work with FSW and also with the Fort Myers Fire Academy. So those organizations and that development helped me to be able to get into this position that I am now, and I think it's actually really equipped me to be able to do a successful job with the organization.
And one of the things I like about you over the years and watching you do what you do, you have kind of methodically, quietly done what you've done, but you've been very out there in terms of being a role model, demonstrating that for the children to see what you're doing. You basically present yourself and represent yourself by action. Talk about that.
Yes, sir. So I think a lot of it has to do with relationships and paying it forward. So a lot of my drive and my motivation and how I try to go about things is what I learned from my mentors and those who sold into my life and showed me a thing or two about it. And most of those individuals were kind of that humble individual who just kind of got things done. They walked the walk. They didn't do so much of the talking, they did more of the walking. And so a lot of that I've actually tried to pick up over the years and try to emulate to become a better individual, to hopefully show other people you don't have to talk a lot, but you do need to do a lot.
Right, and you have to be prepared. Let's talk about preparation. Your background, your preparation allowed you to be in the right place to take on this new responsibility, but you just didn't walk up there unprepared.
Yes, sir. I think one of the things, and we all have to make sure that when we get into different organizations and jobs, we look at and we forecast. Where would I like to be in 3 years? Where I'd like to be in 5 years? Where I'd like to be in 10 years? And that's one of the things I did early on in my career. Had some good mentors who showed me that opportunity. So I got my head in the books. You know, I took on some extra opportunities to volunteer my time within the fire service. Was able to actually go get my 2-year degree, another 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and eventually got my master's degree, and just continue to educate. Even now, I'm in 2 classes right now.
Wow.
You know, even at the stage I am now, you have to constantly be in a perpetual state of making yourself better.
My man, my man, my man. Now, let's go to let people know. I think the first time I met you may have been on television when you came on with Pastor Watkins. I'm not so sure, but that might have been the first time I met you. Then I'll go to the swimming pool. Then I remember we interacted a lot when I was doing a lot of volunteer work at the Stars Complex with the Lee Pitt Swim School, and I was trying to get the kids from point A to point B. You volunteered. I don't know where that bus came from that we had, but used to be the bus driver, and we would drive those children at the Stars Complex back in the early 90s. We would drive them all around the region to compete in different swim meets.
Yes, sir.
And you were a paramedic at the time?
Yes, I was a paramedic. The bus came from Jesus Christ Outreach Center.
Okay. Thank
Bishop
you,
Watkins.
Pastor Watkins. Go ahead.
Yes, and so we had an opportunity to do that, to be able to interface, and that's what we got to do more of, just more partnerships.
Right.
Working together, we can get some things done.
Right.
So, that's what that was.
Right, and Pastor Watkins used to be on that bus as well. He was doing some mentoring. We were just all volunteering, trying to make things happen. Yep. The Stars has grown and become a pillar in the community along that way, but we were part of that. And I don't know if I got a chance to thank you on air for back then. You were a little young dude trying to do something.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I want to thank you for that as well. Will you continue to have that part of you be a part of your DNA, where you continue to be at the grassroots level? I mean, we're sitting right here in the heart of the African American community, and it's not unusual to see you walking around and being involved here as well.
Oh yeah, so I think so, even more so now. Now that I'm actually back in the city again, I think now it has the landscape for me to be able to do even more. To be able to show up at the churches, show up Clemente Park, show up whenever there's something going on, to make sure we show a presence, to be able to try to mentor and try to develop and even encourage those that may be interested in doing into the fire service or whatever else they might be wanting to try to venture into.
Now, where you are now, you have even more power. In terms of having the ear of the chief, in terms of being able to implement some policies. You know the community, you know where to touch things, you know where the recruitment takes place, you know how to get that outreach out there and let people know how to tap into working their way and getting their way into a great career in the fire department.
Yes.
How are you visualizing that already?
So one of the things that we're looking at, Chief Caulfield, myself, one of the things we looked at was how can we integrate ourselves into the many communities and all the diversity that Fort Myers has. So one of the things that our fire department has become is a diverse fire department. We have firefighters who are Haitian. We have firefighters who are Hispanic. We have firefighters who are Caucasian, and firefighters that are African American. So we're trying to reach out to all kinds. We have also firefighters, obviously, that are female as well.
There you go.
So we're trying to make sure that we're trying to represent, and when we represent well, we can then go out and show. It's always encouraging when we see someone who looks like you, speaks like you, and someone even acts like you to be able to get close to.
And we need a person like you who's open to that. And it sounds like, I think you said Chief Caulfield?
Chief Caulfield, yes.
Is open to that as well. And Chief, I know you're looking at this now. The next time we talk about the fire department, you'll be a guest on my show. We'll get all that done. Let me ask you another thing. When you are a fireman, and when you get raised to deputy chief like yourself, do you still get a chance to be cool and wear cool sunglasses like that? I want the kids to know they can still be cool.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. And that is one of the blessings. Regardless of how high you get in the fire service, you're still a firefighter to the day you retire. And then even afterwards, you're still a firefighter. So yes, still get to put on this uniform or the bunker gear with the helmet, still have opportunity to wear that type of uniform. So
let's go to the helmet.
Yes, sir.
People seeing this on television. When I first picked this helmet up, I was like, man, this thing is heavier than a football helmet, man.
Yes, sir. Got a little weight to it.
People to see that right there. So those firemen are in some serious stuff. Give me some basics about this helmet and what purpose it serves in terms of protection.
So if you look at the design of helmets, obviously it's designed to protect your head from anything that would collapse on you. But the fireman's bill on the back here is actually designed so when we spray water in the fire, it gets heated. That water comes back down on top of us. This bill is designed for that water to come off and flow off and not burn our neck or scald ourselves. Many people didn't know that.
Nobody knew it,
But that's the design of this helmet, is completely for protection.
Wow, Aerodon got all kinds of science in there,
yes,
right?
Sir, yes, sir. And it's really traditional. It's really designed for pride as well. This is something that would not be uncommon. You know, unfortunately, when a firefighter were to pass away, that gets passed on to the children or to the wife or someone like that. That they can
like
always.
The flag.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A lot of power, a lot of tradition there, but it's really designed for protection.
I see that number 5 on here. Is that you? Back in the day, you always been number 5.
Well, I used to be Iona McGregor.
Well, that's a 2
5,
here.
so I'm 2
and I see
now.
a 5 back here. So,
five,
just that same helmet.
So 5 is where I came from.
Okay.
And 2 is where I am now.
All right.
2 is where I am now. So.
Oh my goodness. Let's go to the other top of the tap. I'll put this on. Let you stay cool. Tell me, this is a new hat here, man. My head looking big, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's actually a full dress hat.
Okay.
So when we have on a full dress uniform with the jacket and the stripes, and we throw that hat on to either honor somebody who has fallen or honor someone who's done a great job, promotion, service, and so forth, we get all dressed up, and there's nothing better than a fire department dress uniform.
And every time I tell him to come on the show, no matter what, I said, bring the hat, bro.
Awesome.
Bring the hat, because I just love being able to put this hat on, man. We appreciate that. Let's go to the parade itself today. Are you guys going to have a presence in the parade?
Yes, sir. This is one of the first years. One of our firefighters, Timothy Jones. He's actually who's Phi Beta Sigma as well.
Tim, we shouting you out.
Yes, sir. He actually took the reins on it. So we're able to say, Tim, we want to empower you to do whatever you want. Tim said, I want X, Y, and Z. And I'll tell you, it's going to be a show. We got a ladder truck, an engine. My vehicle, Chief Caulfield, will be here, and we also got an Easter Bunny suit. We got an Easter Bunny that's going to represent Fort Myers Fire Department today.
I'm going to be sitting out here for a while, so if you come across before the parade starts, you get with Chief Caulfield. If he wants to just drop in here, we'll pop him in right here, as well as Tim. Before we get into our formal setting, we'll get more formal. You still can stop by there after the float finishes what it does. They can make their way back. We'll still be out here.
Awesome.
Okay, now, I've seen in other places. I think it was at Dr. Martin Luther King Day March and different places. I've seen Tim out there with other firemen doing their thing anyway. So you guys have kind of made that a part of what you're doing, right? Yes,
sir. Yeah. So we like to have liaisons. We like to have different folks within our organization that are liaison to the community in different aspects. So some of our Hispanic brothers are going to reach out when the Hispanic community are doing things. We want a presence. We want to show that we are all part of the city through and through, regardless of what that diversity might be.
Now, there are thousands or hundreds of thousands, even millions of people looking at us right now. And some of them are saying, hey, wow, we love to see Tracey and some of the firemen come out to our schools, come out to our recreation center, to our community events, meet with the children, just talk to us, tell us about some fire safety tips, our community organizations, and so on and so forth. That opportunity exists as well?
Oh, yes, sir. All they have to do is just call the fire department. I can give that number. It's 239-321-7311. That's 239-321-7311.
And that's Deputy Chief McMillion.
Yes.
All right, remember that. Don't call you Tracey McGrady. Inside joke, people. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Nothing. Okay, let's go to the Dunbar Easter Parade.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your early days when you were first exposed to it. Before you get into that, I was first exposed to it when I moved here in the late 80s, and people told me about it, and I came out here on my bicycle around 1991, 92, and just started to see. I didn't know that there were so many black people who came out for such a great cause and showed up and showed out. This is the preeminent parade here in Southwest Florida. I know around the country, many people don't even have an Easter parade. This parade started as a result of segregation when the parade downtown was called the Edison Light Parade. Didn't include African Americans. So some progressive people decided years ago we'll have our own parade on Easter Day, and now it's become a phenomenon. Talk about your first experience here and why this parade is important to our community.
Yes. So I moved to Fort Myers in '96 when I got the job at the fire department. So working at the fire department was the first time I had the opportunity to experience the parade. And then being a member at Jesus Christ Outreach Center at the time with Pastor Watkins, helping to build floats and to be able to represent not only when I was working, then when I was also off, it was just a great opportunity to see good folks come together, enjoy each other, and have a great time, and just see all the the festivities and all the floats and the candy and the kids all dressed up looking clean, and it's just a great opportunity for us to come out and show that we can get together and not have problems. We can get together and love on each other.
I can't continue to let us not spend a little time on Jesus Christ Outreach Center. Later on the show, I'll be talking to Joe North. Of course, he's a member there as well. And a lot of other community members leaders go to Jesus Christ Outreach Center, headed up by Bishop Watkins. It appears to me that you have a strong spiritual base. From the time I met you, you've always had some spirituality. I don't want you to get too in depth with that with your uniform on, but you really, spirituality and values and all that is real big to you, right?
Yes, sir. Most definitely. And I think that's the key to any type of leadership. You have to have some type of basis of your values so you can stay consistent, so you can stay fair and not get into your feelings and do the right thing, you know.
Fire department in general, what are some things we may see change, or some things that you guys have planned, say in your next 3-year plan, when you look at the Fort Myers Fire Department, you may see this happen?
Yeah, so one of the things that Chief Caulfield did roughly about 2 years ago was actually installing smoke detectors. So our fire department, the first time ever that I know of, actually went out door to door and installed fire detectors. So some of the other things that we're going to be doing is more community risk reduction, which is basically us as fire department going and educating at your doorstep about how to be safe, how to protect you all. So you'll see a lot more of that. So one of the things that our police brothers and sisters have done better than us is that they actually have done a little bit better in community integration. So for my fire department, you'll start seeing a lot more integration of the fire service into the communities, where you in your community bill say, oh, that's firefighter so-and-so, that's firefighter Jones, that's so-and-so, and you'll know who they are versus just knowing that there's someone here to help you. You'll know who that, put a name to who that hero is.
Outstanding. There'll be community fire department people, community outreach.
Yes.
When I think about the Fort Myers Police Department, I think about the building down the street here off of Martin Luther King Boulevard. There are other locations throughout the city as well?
For the police department?
Yeah, physical buildings. Do you have like satellite buildings and things
for
like
the fire department?
Yes.
Fire department?
I said police?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fire.
Yeah, so the fire, we actually have 6 physical stations currently right now, and Station 7 is actually in design right now. So Station 7 will be popping up right off of 6 Mile, just south of Colonial here soon.
Now, when we have a parade that's going to have thousands of people in it, you know, the roads are going to be blocked off and all of those types of things, does fire code, fire safety, does it fit into there in any type of way as well with all these people out here? I mean, I can't foresee a fire, but I'm sure you can tell me something.
Yes, sir. Anytime there's some type of event going on in the city, we have instant action plans or pre-plans that if something were to happen, we just kind of go through all the list of different targets and things that potentially could happen, and we create plans. So God forbid if it were to happen, we're ready for it. So anytime there's an event like this, man, there's hours on end that our emergency manager Jordan Guido's working on, our operations chief James Hastings is working on, and our battalion chiefs for that day have worked on to make sure if something goes down, we are more than ready to take care of it.
You might not realize that I listen to these things when I'm talking to you, but one of the things that happened about a couple of years ago when you were on my television show, and we had a natural disaster in the area, and you were telling me about, hey, way in advance, we're in preparation for national disasters. We're planning for hurricanes and if it happens and where to be, and start to put, I told you on the freeway, I saw all these trucks and different people are already ready.
Yes, sir.
Kind of take our TV audience through that process, that is not just when it happens, we react at that moment.
Yeah, so even now, so we're not even into hurricane season now, and we're starting to have what we call geo-division meetings. And what geo-division meetings are is just basically a geographical location for each of our responders to actually manage. Obviously, you have a big situation like that, you want to break that into different divisions. So regionally or divisionally, we actually have meetings to develop what are our needs, what are our resources, who are our folks, make sure we have those relationships built so we know who to call. We start looking at, if this were to happen, what are our flood zones, what are our evacuation zones, what are our shelters, what are things that we learned from Irma or even previous hurricanes. Michael was a great teacher
Stay right there.
for the whole state, It had a lot of different things that a lot of us hadn't anticipated because they truly did have storm surge. So we take into account, we get all our GIS folks, and it's not just police, fire, and emergency management. We have public works that come into play, the school systems come into play, transportation comes into play. It is a phenomenal coming together of all these different entities sitting down as agencies and saying, you know what, we got one goal in mind, and that's to keep our community safe. Well,
first of all, can you still get down and do those push-ups like you used to do?
Got it. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, you're still in good physical condition.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But what are some of the basic requirements? Let's go physical first. I don't want you to get too depth, but hit the high points on some physical requirements. Do you have to be a certain height or whatever, certain push-ups, and then some of the in-book requirements that a person might start preparing to become a fireman?
Yeah, so one of the things that we say now as far as being a fireman, you're a tactical athlete. And so what that means is we are a professional athlete, because when those tones drop and there's an emergency, there is an expectation that we're going to perform. Just like a receiver or quarterback, they're supposed to be able to throw and catch the ball. So same thing for us. So physically, you need to be able to, there's not necessarily a certain amount of push-ups per se or this or that. It's just being able to be physically strong enough to be an athlete. So if you have that in your mind, what does an athlete look like? What can an athlete do to perform? Just have enough strength to be able to get your job done.
Carry people too, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. And a lot of that is technique. Mm-hmm. And we can teach a lot of folks how to do certain things based upon your body style. Mm-hmm. You being a strong individual, it's going to be easy for me to teach you how to pull somebody. Mm-hmm. You got natural strength. Mm-hmm. Someone who may be a little smaller stature or frame, we have to go into a little bit more body mechanics.
Leverage and things.
Leverage, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Right.
That are like wrestling. Wrestling's all about leverage and body mechanics. So a lot of that goes into place.
It's something that you might not know. Me as a trained lifeguard.
Yes, sir.
Over the years, when I went into training, there are certain things that we're trained on how to pull bodies out of the water. Yeah. And of course, when we're pulling bodies out of the water without a rescue tube, we're able, I was trained in the early days, back in the old days. You see those rescue tubes now,
sir. Yeah.
But they didn't have that back then. So it was basically hand-to-hand combat. And you had a strong enough stroke that you could carry yourself and a whole limp body from 100 yards without it touching the bottom of the water. And you just got enough, your kick is strong enough to carry a whole.
Wow,
and it's all leverage and different things.
Yes,
and then when we got them to the shore of the pool or to the shore of the beach, we're able to have the proper techniques to get them up on our shoulders.
Yes, sir.
And get them on out of the water with various leverage techniques. So you guys need to know I'm not just a guy on TV.
Right.
I can carry a body in the water probably farther than you got, at least a half a mile with no problem, with just my legs, carrying a complete body, holding the body. I'm that strong with my kick, and I still keep that up. I swim my lap,
yes,
Tracey.
Yes,
and if you got some firemen who need some little swim lessons, let me know about it. There's Ernest Graham coming up.
Yes, sir.
Before we go, though, I want you to hit on a couple of things. Some basic tips common tips that people make in and they get, the fire situation is worse than it could have been, or some little common things they can do in their residence first, and then their business second. And if they're the same, you can just say that it applies to both.
Gotcha. So one thing in the residence, number one is going to be threefold. One is having working smoke detector. Two is actually having practice exit drills. So basically saying you've gone with your family. If there's a fire, we're going to get out and we're going to meet here. Three, which a lot of people don't know, is called close the door. Close the door. Close before you doze. We know statistically most fires happen between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 in the morning. One of the things that you can do as a homeowner is simply when you go to bed, close your door.
Your bedroom.
To your bedroom. If there were to be a fire inside that, let's say that main area house could be 1,000 degrees. If you close your residential door, your area will actually be confined to roughly about 100 degrees, a 900 degree difference. It allows us to actually be able to get to you. Fires nowadays used to be way back in the 50s, you had about 17 minutes to get outside your house. Now with all the common materials we have, rooms to go and this and that, you got 3 minutes. But if you close your door, you have a safe place that we can get you and get you out. So working fire detector, a way to get out, and closing your door when you go to bed.
All right, let's go back to closing the door.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you close the door, okay, you call 911, fire department's coming. Do you need to be trying to get out of that window?
Yes, you could get out the window, definitely evacuate, and that goes back to that step 2 of being able to get out of your house.
Okay.
Teach your children how to get out of their windows, right? Unfortunately, if you have bars or if you keep your hurricane shutters up year round, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But we definitely suggest you take those things down as you can, but definitely get out of the house.
And don't open that door. Like
don't open up that door. Don't open that door.
Boom.
Yeah, because it's basic fire spread.
Backdraft. I'm trying to talk.
Yeah.
Trying to talk that talk. I saw that movie Backdraft. I'm trying to talk that talk. Go ahead.
Yeah. So once that door is closed, don't reopen it, because what that does, it allows fire to spread.
It's amazing.
Fire is always chemicals. You start thinking about science. It's trying to find that source of oxygen. It's trying to find that source of fuel. So if you open that door, it's going to find more oxygen for it to breathe and to get better. The more doors that are closed, the more confined it might be.
What about, I don't know if this is factual or not, but you're supposed to get on the floor and crawl, smoke. You can get on the floor, less smoke or something, go.
Yes, sir, that is completely scientifically proven, and that's one of the things, even as trained professionals, we always get low when we go into a structure. Why? Heat rises. So you could go into a residence that's on fire, it may be 1,200 degrees up here, thermal layering, and down lower, 800, 400, down to roughly about 150, and you can survive in that 150. You won't be able to survive in that 1,200.
Man, this is educational. I got to get you back. I got to get some other people from your fire department on the show, different races, different nationalities.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to show that vast diversity of the Fort Myers Fire Department. And one last thing, though, before we go. When a person is talking to, like a layman like me is trying to explain something to the family, what's the best way to get it across to them in terms of being prepared?
A lot of times it's resources and videos. One thing that we are very successful on doing is having people watch stuff on YouTube. Matter of fact, if you were to actually YouTube closethedoor.org, it'll actually have a video on there that will change your life. You will watch that 5-minute video and be like, wow, I never knew.
Have you ever been in a serious fire as working?
Oh, yeah.
It's all the time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I didn't get all that smoke on the helmet for nothing.
All right, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's always a pleasure getting you on the show now. Deputy Chief Tracey McGrady, Tracey McMillion. That million is for all the money. Is making us proud here in Fort Myers, and we'll continue to see him coming on the show over the years as he continues to grow and get gray hair and be a role model. Keep up the good work, man.
Yes, sir.
Let's bump these mics. We'll be right back with some more guests right here on the corner of Dr. Martin Luther King and Palm in the city of Fort Myers in an area called Dunbar, the largest African-American community here in the southwest quadrant of the state of Florida.